This episode of Talk Boxing is sponsored by DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now for fights every week. And the pick of the bunch, Usyk versus Fury 2, live from Riyadh. You can buy this now at DAZN.com/boxing. And you can click the link in the description or just scan the QR code in the bottom left-hand corner.
The biggest thing for me is not about what Tyson Fury, and I want to see what you think of this, David. It's not about what weight he comes in at. It's about what state he comes in mentally.
If he knows a fight is good, he definitely brings them into camp because he actually wants to test himself like that. And
But you pat yourself on the back there. if he were to lose, do you think it will be the last time we see him in the ring?
No.
You don't?
That AJ fight is still going to happen.
Quite like a fight with him and Okolie.
Do you?
Yeah.
But if you gave King Kong a pair of boxing gloves and said, look, he's in the ring, do you want to square up with him? I'm going to say yes.
I don't know what you're laughing for, because you were out there as a media going, this is a legitimate fight. Mike Tyson could win it.
Fight. I got caught in the trap going, I'll get a chance to see Mike Tyson do the ring walk again. I still reckon he watched it, by the way.
He did watch it.
He did watch it.
Would you fight another presenter?
I've got my money on Gareth A. Davis on that one.
Welcome to episode 99 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Today, we are joined by the revitalised, re-energised David Adeleye. Nice to see you, David. Thanks for joining us.
Likewise, thank you.
Before we get into your performances, and we will, let's have a look at what you thought of the first. Obviously, it's Fury Usyk, it's on the horizon now. And get your take on what you thought of the first fight.
I mean, the first fight was very close. Good fight, entertaining. Did it go the way I expected? No. But was I surprised the way it went? I wasn't. So, look, when it comes to that sort of level, it comes down to fine margins, the 1%. And,
who did you pick? Before the fight, who did you pick?
I thought Fury would do it.
Why?
Just a natural heavyweight. Usyk was coming up. And even though Usyk's big, I mean, once you get to a certain size doesn't matter, but he was coming into one of the biggest heavyweights out there, the 6'9" Tyson Fury. So I thought Tyson would impose himself and get the dub over him.
You say you thought Fury would win the fight.
Yeah.
What didn't he do that you thought he was going to do in the fight?
Impose himself a bit more. You know, we watched the fight against Yarde in the rematch when he imposed himself. I remember I was sparring Fury for that fight. And he said, yeah, I'm putting on Yarde this fight. And everyone was like, what? He's like, I'm putting on Yarde. That was for the rematch. Right. Like, I'm just going to bring it to him. And he went out there and did exactly that. So I thought he was going to kind of have the same sort of game plan going against Usyk.
Was you surprised by the way that he actually started? Because we thought the same thing. You're going to use your size and, you know, utilise all those attributes that you've got. But he didn't really do that, did he? And he allowed Usyk to take that jab away from him early on. And that was a big problem because when Usyk gets into any form of rhythm, it's
hard to get him
out
of it. Exactly, yeah. And it's hard to get him out of that rhythm. And Usyk's got this sort of thing where he pressurises fighters and he makes fighters work. And he makes fighters work at a rate that sometimes they're not comfortable with. But Fury's obviously, he's a fit heavyweight, and he's a heavyweight that's obviously been there with different styles before. But I think the pressure Usyk brought to him was a bit different, and it just made Tyson work at a certain pace where he probably thought, okay, then this is the pace we're going to have to work at.
One of the things that, I mean, everyone, we've discussed at great length what we think Fury needs to do in this next fight. But one of the things that everyone assumed that would happen in the first fight is because of his size, that he would be very strong and big and create a challenge for Alexander Usyk in that respect. But he went into this fight with Usyk, one of the lightest that had gone into a fight for some time. Do you expect him, when he comes back round for this fight, do you expect him to be bigger? Do you expect him to take advantage of the fact that naturally he's a bigger man?
I don't expect him to be that much bigger because, look, the fight was close. And I think if Tyson does come in a bit too heavy, then you might not be able to bounce around and keep up with Usyk as much. And yeah, size matters, but I think to a degree.
What do you think, Simon, about that, by the way? Do you think that, you know, what are the advantages for Tyson Fury? Do you think that coming in heavier would be an advantage for him?
Well, it's one of his attributes, isn't it? It's one of his natural attributes that he's a bigger man. And what people, I mean, when we saw Derek, I know it's going back away now with Alexander. When we saw Derek Chisora fight Alexander Usyk, he almost gave people the blueprints to some extent to make life difficult for Usyk. Anthony Joshua didn't read that script. And potentially Daniel Dubois did a little bit and created some challenges for him. But I would think that the biggest thing for me is not about what Tyson Fury, and I want to see what you think of this, David, it's not about what weight he comes in at. It's about what state he comes in mentally. Because we've never seen Tyson Fury lose a fight.
Yeah.
I don't think he drew the fight against Deontay Wilder. I think he won that fight too.
So do I.
But we've never seen him have to come back from that kind of adversity. And that, to me, is the most telling thing about this fight. If Fury is in the right state of mind, I don't know what you think, Spence, with the right outlook, none of this I think all that's gone anywhere about a middleweight gap tooth, all that nonsense. I think it's all business now, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he's in the zone, I think Fury wins this fight.
I think Fury's mindset is always of a positive one.
Yeah.
I think that he's that type of guy. Do you know what I mean? He'll go in there 100% believing that he can turn things around and he'll make slight adjustments because there's not big changes that need to be made here. I just think that he needs to start earlier, establish himself earlier, take control and not allow Usyk to get in any sort of rhythm. My big concern here is not that whether he believes he can do it or mentally whether he's in that state of mind, but whether physically he can do it now. And that's my concern. He's at that stage of his career, right? He's 36, Usyk 37. But if you don't live the life right through your career, your body breaks down. And that is a concern for me. Is Tyson Fury's body breaking down? You would know better than anyone else because you've been in many camps with him and done hundreds of rounds with him.
Yeah.
And that is the telling thing. Will his body hold up through the training camp? Because it's punishing, right?
It is punishing. And I feel like at that sort of level, though, you do so many camps, you start to understand your body. So you know what you can do, you know what you can't do.
Right.
I think at obviously Tyson's level, the man's definitely obviously got it in him. The fight against Usyk was only a few months ago, it was years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be any sort of disadvantages going into this fight in terms of he's been in camp or he's been out of shape for too long. And his mindset, going back to what you said about his mindset, I think his mindset is always good. You know, I've been in the gym with him.
That's what I'm going to ask you because you've been in with him and you've been in a lot of sparring sessions with him, you've been in a lot of camps with him. I mean, what is that experience like? What's he like when he's going towards, I think you were sparring with him before the Dillian Whyte fight, right? Yeah,
Dillian Whyte fight as well, yeah. So, you know what it is with Tyson? It's funny because Tyson's the person where he knows if he knows a fight is good, he brings them into camp because he actually wants to test himself like that. And
you patting yourself on the back there?
I mean, yeah, you could say that to be fair. But I mean, look, when he knows fighters are good, he always brings them into camp. If someone gives him good work, you have to come back. He's not the sort of fighter that says, well, you give me good work. And the times I've sparred Tyson and I've given him work and he's got out the ring like, bloody hell, Dave.
What's his main strengths? What do you find as his main strengths? You've done hundreds of rounds with him.
His
do you know
timing.
what I mean? His timing.
He's very awkward. I was just saying to somebody, when you see Tyson from outside, you see the nod and you see him shoot certain shots. But when you're in there, everything he's doing it for a reason. And sometimes it's hard to pick up on that. And it's hard to gauge that. It's definitely hard to see certain shots because he throws it at a different time.
Right.
You know, everyone throws shots within a certain sort of time frame, and he obviously does it very awkwardly, and he's long. He's long. Sometimes you don't think he's next to you, he's across the other side of the ring.
Yeah.
He ends up still getting caught with a jab.
Sure.
So,
timing's key, right? Timing sets up everything.
It's key, and he knows when to dig into shots. He knows when to set shots up. You know, he's very smart.
Are they very focused and disciplined camps in your experience?
Yeah, Tyson's camp is real, man. He keeps his family with him.
Right.
And it's funny because obviously in my camp I keep my family with me as well, but he's got no yes man in his camp. They tell him how it is. Do you think
this camp will be different from any other camps because he's never gone into a fight having lost a fight? He's come back from adversities and challenges and overcome all the demons in his mind. But this is a very different camp, I suspect, because it's one coming off the back of a defeat.
I don't think so, because he never really got beaten up. I mean, he lost. I mean,
do you not think the referee helped him out a bit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we can't shy away from that, definitely. I think in a lot of cases, the referee would have stopped the fight. But at the same time, you're going in there, we're in there with someone like Tyson Fury, he comes back, you watch his fight against Wilder, he came back. It wasn't the first time him going over, and he always comes back and manages to win. So I think, in that sense, the referee probably thought, look, he's been there before. He's obviously still got something in the tank. And the referee can see something we can't. You can see the guy's eyes when he's in there. So he must have looked at it and thought he's still.
Did you think the referee helped out?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think that David's right in what he said. Any other referee at any given time could have stopped that contest because he was in bad trouble.
Yeah.
The boxing gods were with him. It happens, and he got through it, and he shows incredible powers of recovery. You cannot deny that with Tyson.
He's like Lazarus, absolutely.
And you got to respect that. And I think actually this loss will
galvanising.
Feed him even more, that he will go in there and it will be much more intense. The training camps, I think he's locked himself away, hasn't he? Out in Malta or somewhere,
Do you boys think? I mean, let's not wanting to be doomsday merchant, but if he were to lose, do you think it will be the last time we see him in the ring?
No.
You don't?
That AJ fight is still going to happen.
That's a money fight.
Yeah, it's a money fight. And I think, obviously, a lot of people do talk about it, saying, listen, man, they're both done now or they've both lost and whatnot, but that will still sell out the stadium the same way. That will still bring the same eyes to the fight.
Yeah.
The company
Where are you at with that fight, by the way?
What, Fury versus Joshua?
Fury, say Fury does lose. If he does, let's hope he doesn't.
Well, I mean, listen, I understand the public demand.
Do you think the fight happens for one?
Well, it'll be the battle of the two losers right now at this moment in time. I don't mean losers per se, because they've both been genuine, bona fide world champions, but they're not coming into the fight in their best version of themselves, are they?
No, but I think it's fair to say that
it is what it is.
Tyson Fury is number 2 in the world right now as a heavyweight. Like, there's no getting away from that. I think
hang on, how'd you work that out? You've got Usyk and you've got Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
So Daniel
Tyson
Dubois
Fury is number 2.
Do you think that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if he loses this fight against Usyk, you'd still have him as number 2, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because because we're talking about the same guy. I mean, you're talking about a couple of rounds between winning and losing it. It wasn't like one round beatdown. He lost the fight, yes, but it was we're going into this rematch going, if he can do this and if he can do that, rediscover this, he wins the fight.
But there is also
definitely number 2.
I mean, again, we have the same conversation about Daniel, can't you? Because Daniel nearly beat Usyk. And there was a challenge in the minds of the trainer and certainly a lot of people, certainly Frank, that that this wasn't a low blow. I don't think you thought it was a low blow.
I think the referee in that one, by the way, saved Alexander Usyk without a doubt, because that was not a low blow.
I think, honestly, it looked low, but I don't know if it was as low as people thought. I don't know if
I didn't think it was a low blow.
It wasn't that low.
Dave, you know where you wear the shorts, right? And we know where the shot landed.
100%.
It never hit him down.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Definitely in his stomach.
But I think if the referee started to give Usyk a count, I think Usyk would have got up and worked his way on the ring.
You think
That's
so?
what I genuinely think. I think he blagged it for as long as he could.
Yeah, to try and
the
recover
referee
as much as he could.
Exactly that. The referee basically gave it to him as a low blow. So he sat down and said, look, if I got a 5-minute break, I'll take it. Sure. But I think if he didn't give it a low blow and started to count, Usyk would have got up and still used the experience to get
If Usyk does beat Tyson, we're going to have to turn around. Are you boys going to turn around and say, because I probably am, that you're looking at one of the all-time greats?
Definitely.
In terms of Usyk, because ultimately he'll have beaten everyone, won't he?
Yeah, even now,
I
think he's up there right now. Usyk's one of them generational fighters. He can fight in any generation. You have to be honest about it. You put him in fights 20, 30, 40 years ago.
I'm going to give you one. If you put Alexander Usyk in with a prime Evander Holyfield, who followed the same journey as Alexander Usyk, who wins that fight?
Man, Holyfield's my guy. I got to go for Holyfield.
I know, mate. Well, that's where I'm at as well. Like, I think that
Holyfield's too spiteful.
You rank him up there somewhere, but I don't know if he's an all-time great. He's definitely a generational great for sure. But he'll fit in the top 5.
If you beat everybody in your generation,
you're a generational great.
You have to be generationally great.
Absolutely.
I mean, Evander didn't beat Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, I know, but.
So wait. Well, what is it you're saying that you're saying Usyk would beat?
I'm saying that if for that particular expression, and I think it's overused anyway, but it's part and parcel of what the media does.
No, but Lennox is an all-time great.
Lennox is. I understand that. But what we're talking about in terms of Alexander Usyk, and Evander Holyfield was brought into the conversation, I'm saying, does he become a generational great in terms of one of the all-time greats because he's dominated his era? And it's a double whammy because Evander Holyfield was obviously a cruiserweight and then a heavyweight.
Does Lennox beat Alexander Usyk?
Yes. I think Lennox Lewis beats all of them.
Yeah,
I think Lennox Lewis on his day beats all of them, and when he was in his pomp, he could beat anybody at any fight they wanted to have. If he wanted to knock someone out, Lennox could do it. If he wanted to box him, he could do it. You watched him.
Yeah,
I went around the world and watched him.
I
went around the world and watched him. What do you expect to see from the two boys? I mean, obviously we saw the battle of the mutes at the press conference. Where there was not a lot said between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
But we're coming now into the business area where fighters are zeroing down, the press interest is ramping up. What do you expect to see from the two boys? What do you expect to hear?
Well, we've in the past heard a lot from Tyson Fury, haven't we? I mean, he's been entertaining in fight weeks, fight build-ups, etc., etc. But I think it's down to business now. He's, I don't think we're going to hear the Tyson Fury that we've heard in the past in press conferences before. So he knows what he's going into. Alexander Usyk is that guy that, I think his game is by not saying anything.
Yeah.
That's his game and getting inside his fighter's head. Tyson Fury now knows that he can't get inside Alexander Usyk's head. He can't break that because Usyk's great at reverse psychology.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. So I just think that it's going to be a much more reserved build-up than what we've seen before. So I think the fight sells itself.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for Tyson to go all out, isn't it? Because ultimately he's on the back of a defeat. So he can't give it what he would normally give it. And probably he'll want to travel a little bit more incognito. What about the other reverse side of the question? If Alexander were to lose, do you think it'd be the last time you saw him in the ring?
You know what?
Good shout, you know?
Yeah, it's a good question.
shout. I think we'd probably see the trilogy.
That's
You'd
what I
have to,
reckon.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then
Because
they'll
you've
sail
got
off
the
into
rubber
the
match,
sunset.
haven't you? You've got one apiece. It's sort of, again, you're talking about, you know...
But what about if he wins?
If he wins, he's sailing off into the sunset.
You think he sails off into the
Yeah,
sunset?
110%. I feel like, obviously, Usyk's probably at a stage now where he's thinking, look, he's 37.
He's beatable.
Exactly that.
He's
Beat him
beatable.
all. He's got the money. You know, he's got the accolades.
Have you sparred Usyk, by the way?
I haven't. You know what? It's very funny. The time I was meant to spar Usyk, I was in camp with Tyson.
No way.
So I never ended up sparring Usyk. So,
Would you have liked to spar him, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of them. He's one of them fighters that you would want to get in there with just to see how you measure up with him and see exactly how he prepares for camps and what he's doing beforehand. But I know he's got the same sort of team Klitschko had.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
They're meticulous in what they do,
Yeah,
right?
very.
Before we get into David, let's talk about one other heavyweight. I think you've been sort of digging around about Martin Okolie. Obviously, it's a source of irritation for us because we want Martin Okolie to be given the opportunities that he should be given.
Yeah.
We think he's being pushed aside, don't we? And
Yeah.
people are ducking him. We mustn't use the word ducking because it gets people upset. People are avoiding him or not making these fights.
Be careful,
But
son.
what's the state of play with Martin?
Yes, I spoke to Billy Nelson this morning, actually, to see where he was at with that, because I know there's been rumours circulating that he's boxing at Jagba in March, I believe. I think the Riyadh season then with Ramadan, you know, going on, Riyadh season goes on the road. I believe that fight lands here, or Billy thinks that the fight will land here against the
In the
Jagba.
UK?
Yeah, in the UK.
Good
That will
fight.
be a final eliminator for the IBF. We've got Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker going ahead, and I think that the IBF will then mandate the winner to fight Martin Okolie in April. So that's where we're at with it. So that's the
What do you
route
think of
that's the
Okolie?
roadmap he's
Good
taking.
fighter, Okolie.
Yeah.
Very good fighter. Done
Have you
many
sparred
rounds.
him?
Yeah, many rounds with Okolie. You know, he's a good fighter, and I feel like a lot of fighters do avoid him.
Do you?
100% of fighters avoid him because he should be involved in big fights. And I don't really remember Okolie ever saying no to a fight. I remember his name being involved in a mix and they're saying they want Okolie to fight this person, this person, this person. And he's obviously always backed himself. And I know Billy Nelson very well as well. Top man, Billy Nelson.
If he comes
backs
through
Martin.
against the Jagba
Yeah.
in March, which I expect him to be fair,
Yeah, so
Jagba's
do
a
I.
good fighter, but I expect him to beat him. If
Quality
he comes
fighter.
through there and he gets the winner of Dubois Parker, do you fancy him to beat the winner of that? Is he that good?
You know what's so funny? Him against Dubois, I don't think it's a good matchup for Dubois. Him against Parker is a very good fight. I see them spar.
Daniel.
No, I've seen Okolie and Parker
Okolie, yeah.
spar.
Oh, you've seen them spar?
I've seen them spar.
Okay.
So good. The fans are being for a treat.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in camp with both of them.
All right.
It's so funny because we was all in camp together. Me, Parker, Okolie, Joe Miller, and Tyson Fury.
Wow.
So you can only imagine what it was like when we were sparring.
That's some mad sparring,
Mate,
right?
the physio
What was that, like a
working.
round robin type thing, like in and
literally.
out?
No, we was all doing different rounds. I was you two today, you two today, you two
Right,
today.
right.
So yeah, look, put it this way, the physio was working for the whole of camp because everybody was landing big shots and pushing themselves to the limits. But yeah, Parker and Okolie do spar. The fans are in for a treat. Not spar, sorry, fight.
If they fight, yeah. Yeah.
David, devastating knockout on the weekend. Well done.
Thank you.
A very different disposition from the last time I saw you.
Yeah.
A real noticeable change when a fighter's going into the fight week.
Definitely.
And your attitude now, you're much more relaxed and calm. I think I irritated you last time, so my apologies for that.
Nah,
but big win, right? Much needed.
Yeah, definitely needed. You know, I think every win's needed, right? And but yeah, that was just a good win to show when I'm back in the mix, and what I'm about.
14 months out.
Yeah.
Big changes for you. A little bit of soul searching after that defeat, and you team up with Adam Booth. Talk to us about that relationship.
Yeah, man, the proof is in the pudding. Adam Booth, he's the man that knows it all, right?
I went to school with him.
Yeah. And look, he's had heavyweights before.
It explains it, yeah.
Yeah, he's had heavyweights before,
Yeah.
so he obviously knows how to deal with fighters that are heavyweights. You know, some coaches don't know how to train heavyweights. Some coaches do. Some coaches don't know how to train middleweights. Some coaches do. I think Adam's one of them fighters that knows how to train the small weights as well as the big.
What does he do for you?
ones.
I mean, he's a very interesting character.
Yeah,
And
he
as I
is.
said, he was a year behind me at school.
Yeah.
But I did a podcast with him and found him quite an interesting character. And that dynamic that he had with David Haye was a unique dynamic that people either loved or loathed. But what does he bring to you? What does he give you that's perhaps you've not had before?
Like a mentor. You got to be deeper than a coach sometimes. You
Right.
know, you see, the thing about Adam is he asks us questions about your personal life.
Right.
You know, he wants to know what's going on in your personal life, and then he kind of goes from there. You know, but he understands me as a person, and look, but even when we got with him, he laid down the law. This is how it's got to be, and this is the way I want it to be. Are you on board with that? And of course I was. You know, I'm a man. I want to change. I want to get to a certain place in my boxing career, and to do that, things got to change. So yeah.
I spoke to him actually at the show after your fight, and obviously we talked about that. And I said, listen, we wanted to see a little bit more with David and see, like, you know, what you had added to, you know, to his style and what you changed up, etc., etc. He mentioned that actually, talking about working on this, the psychological side, because he said, look, you got all the attributes, and it's all about getting the timing right. Experience is key. You know, you maybe went off too fast against Fabio Wardley and you blew a gasket, and you know that's it. He said, but yeah, he said that he'd been working really on your mindset, 100%. And that's a big thing, and that's what we would have seen in the performance.
Yeah, exactly that. Boxing's a mind game, and it's not always about not being emotional, but it's not always about sitting there. It's not a hard man. It is a hard man sport, but it's not about being hard there. It's about being smart there. You know, a lot of the smart fighters make it far, so that's what it's about.
But it is also about having the right mentality, isn't it? We saw the other day with Sonny Edwards when he's in that fight and he's not wanting to be there anymore because mentally his mind has gone. So in terms of perhaps some of the fights left him. What do you think? What do you want to see from 2025? What are your ambitions? What does it look like for you? What are you aiming towards?
Being involved in the big names. I want to get involved in. I want to be chasing after fighters that kind of got a bigger name than me. Fighters that's going to put me in a mix. Fighters that's going to put in the top 15 in the governing bodies. You know,
right the wrongs of the Fabio Wardley fight. Surely
100%.
that's someone now you've got.
I want to right the wrong of that Fabio Wardley fight, but at the same time, I don't want to keep just chasing him because I know every time I fight, his name's going to be mentioned, and I've got my own career. You know, look, with my promoter, we set up a plan. His name's in that plan.
Who else? Fraser Clark.
I quite like the fight. I quite like the fight with him and Lawrence Okolie.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right.
Lawrence is a good friend.
I mean, listen, I know that Joe has other ideas, but I quite like that.
I mean, does it annoy you a little bit that Lawrence has been slotted straight into the WBC rankings as number 5? Does that annoy you as a heavyweight that's fought in your division, earning your own pathway, and then someone comes in from another division and goes straight into?
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't worry you at all?
No, not. Look, God's timing. It's God's plan, right? So it doesn't bother me. I know if I keep going out doing what I do, and I keep going on my path, then look, there's going to be fights there for me, and then belts are going to be there.
Do you know what? There's a rumoured 5v5 happening again, you know, with Frank and Eddie. What a fight that would be, you and Johnny Fisher or something like that. That would be a great fight.
That'll be a good fight. Good fight. Look, the heavyweight scene right now is booming. A lot of big fights to be made.
Fraser Clark.
See, someone like Fraser, I'll be real, where he is in his career doesn't make no sense. I think he's got to go soul searching. Obviously, he lost his last fight in devastating fashion. It's going to take God knows how long for him to recover. So look, I wish him the best. Him and Solomon Dakers will be a good fight.
Would you take the fight next with Johnny Fisher?
Yeah, I'll take any fight next. You know, but look, like I said, there's a certain path that my promoter set out with my agent and whatnot.
Yeah.
For me, it's about staying in the gym with Adam, doing what I do. And look, when fights get made, you can't ask the fighter if a fighter will take a fight.
No, of course not.
Like I said, if you
anyone.
gave King Kong a pair of boxing gloves and said, look, he's in the ring, do you want to square up with him? I'm going to say yes.
How many times do you want to try and get out next year?
As many times as possible. I'll go for a minimum of 3.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 is just being realistic. If I could get out 4 or 5 times, it'll be good.
Right.
But a minimum of 3 times is obviously realistic.
Surely that puts you that puts you in a very, very strong place. If you get like 3 fights, let's say next year,
well, definitely
they're going to be 3 big fights. You're going to be right in the mix by then.
100%. I'll be right in the mix, and
you're excited about that, aren't you?
I'm excited, man. A lot of the guys at the top of the tree right now are at the tail end of their career.
Don't you think King Kong would have a big size advantage over you, though?
You never know. I might have the speed on him.
Wait, I know you want to have a rematch with Fabio.
Yeah.
Because you will want to, because you're a fighter and you want to avenge a defeat, right? But without wanting to put you too much into other people's businesses, where do you expect Fabio to go next? He's opened an opportunity for himself, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
He beat you, he beats Fraser, and now he's on a trajectory. He's inside in sort of top 10 where you want to be.
Yeah.
Where do you expect him to go? What do you expect him to do next?
I expect him to fight these big names and start getting some sort of title eliminators. Same sort of position Okolie's in, where you fight somebody at that same sort of level you're on, and if you do get past them, then you become mandatory for one of the belts. Look, he's done what everyone's asked of him.
How far away is he from, let's say, an Anthony Joshua fight? We know that Joshua's now sitting it out and waiting to see what happens with the landscape at the heavyweights right now and what's going on. Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury. But how far away is he from fights like that?
Not far. 2 fights away, maybe. I think he has one fight against someone on the same sort of level, and then he starts to get into them sort of big fights.
Did he surprise you, Fabio, when you fought him?
Yeah, he did. Of course he did.
In what way?
Just more. You know what? I'll be real. What surprised me was he stuck to his game plan.
Right.
You know, he told me he was going to do a certain thing. Me and him was talking. Yeah. Me and him was talking before the fight, and he told me, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So when we got to doing it, he didn't do it. He stuck to his game plan, so he fooled me. But I thought, listen, let's stand there. You can square up. Let's have a tear up. You know, sometimes emotions can get too high and whatnot. But yeah, he stuck to his game plan. He stayed switched on, and look, I switched off for that split second. It's heavyweight boxing. We was in a clinch. I literally switched off. I heard the referee say break, and obviously, listen. The rules of the game is protect yourself at all times, so I can't knock him on that. But when the referee said break, obviously I've gone to pull back, and he's ended up clipping me. And
I think one of his main assets is that resilience, isn't it? Like that he can weather the storm for sure, and he can bite down his gum shield. And I think experience plays a huge part in that as well.
Yeah, experience does play a huge part. I think if we fight now, it's a whole different ballgame.
You learnt a lot from that.
It's a whole different ballgame with me and him square off now. Look, I backed myself 100 times over, and I think if me and Woodley was to fight 10 times, I'd win 9. And I think the one time he would win was the time we fought.
Interesting.
Nice.
Obviously, elsewhere on this bill, the Magnificent Seven bill, we saw Lawrence Okolie, and Lawrence Okolie had a knockout win. Another exciting and exhilarating knockouts. In the same way that Davies was. What do you make of Lawrence's performance? I mean, he was big, wasn't he? I mean, were you surprised to see him that big, 260 pounds?
You know what? I saw him a few weeks beforehand, and he was big. So I knew he was going to be big. I didn't know what his weight was, but yeah, I kind of knew he was going to be the way he was.
18.6, I think he weighed. 18.5, 18.6.
See, I don't know what that is in pounds.
260 pounds.
Okay, then, yeah.
Yeah, so look, I thought
bigger than what Joshua weighs.
It's interesting. I spoke to Joe Gallagher about his weight actually, and Lawrence after the fight, and he was saying, look, they obviously that is where he's suited. He's nice and light on his feet, and I think that he carried the weight well.
Spence, you mentioned Joe Gallagher and Lawrence. Let's hear what you had to say to them on Saturday night. Or they had to say to you.
And who you are and what you've done previously. We've just been throwing around names, the likes of the Dillian Whites of this world, absolutely.
Yeah, Joe don't like that
Joe's
one.
shaking his head. Which one do you want? Who do you want him to fight? Because we're talking about profile fights.
Number 5 WBC now. That'll get him to number 4, number 3. Shang's fighting at Cabiel. If Usyk wins, I think he'll vacate the belt. So Lawrence most probably the winner of that fight there that I just mentioned. And that position, we're not looking behind for people behind us. We're looking ahead of us. He's been 2-8 world champion. We're looking forward. Dylan White's had a great career. Derek Chisore's had a great career. And good luck to him. But now we're looking ahead of us, not behind us. And that's no disrespect. But that type of talk is just nonsense. We're gunning. We'll be number 3 in the WBC, and we're gunning for a world title shot in 2025.
Listen, I like Lawrence, and I really like Joe Gallagher. But I don't know what you think. I don't think Lawrence Okolie's ready for a world title shot yet in the heavyweight division. Do you?
Well, listen, he's made no secret about it, and I think Joe's the same. He's saying, look, he's done the cruiserweights, he's done the bridgerweights, he's grown into the heavyweights. He wanted to test himself at heavyweight. He's done that, and he come through with flying colours. He showed a lot of confidence.
There's levels, isn't there? I mean, who's he fought?
Of course, of course that, and I recognise that, and I think Joe and Lawrence know as well. Look, 2025, he said that they're number 3 in the WBC rankings now. Or no, he was number 5. I think he will be elevated to number 3 after that. And he's saying, look, if the opportunity comes up, I want it. He needs another 2 fights.
And of course he's going to take the opportunity. Who's not going going to take the opportunity.
He needs
but
two
what
more
we're
fights.
talking about is whether he's ready for it or not, and whether he's entitled to it.
2 more fights.
That's what I think.
Yeah, and those 2 fights will put him entitled to it because it will be names of substance.
Yeah.
You can't just go, I'm going to fight two fighters of that calibre that I've just boxed and get the world title shot.
Yeah.
That won't happen because the way the heavyweights are right now.
Big margin difference, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You fancy a bit of that?
What's that?
You and Lawrence?
That'd be a good fight. Like I said, I said it before in an interview. Me and Lawrence have sparred. I sparred Lawrence when he was a heavyweight. So, but me and him sparred with bad intentions. So
What
if he
is
was to get paid
explain to the people what the
but-
difference is, because Lawrence has always had this sort of negative comments around him about the way that he fights and being sort of bit reserved in the way that he fights. But as a heavyweight, all the sparring I hear that's being done in the gym with Lawrence as a heavyweight, he's a different fighter.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. I feel like obviously he's a big guy, and he's naturally got a big frame. So for him to make cruiserweight was probably just
Crazy.
sucking the life out of him, where he probably wasn't feeling as energetic or as strong as he usually would. But yeah, when he was a heavyweight, obviously he was strong. He was being energetic. So yeah, I got the best Lawrence Okolie. It was good work.
Right.
We sparred over in America. I was getting ready for a fight. He was getting ready for a fight. So yeah, man, we was going for it.
Do you think this is going to set him free a little bit, this heavyweight division? Because obviously Lawrence has come into some criticism. He knows he has. He came into it with a lot of expectation. Obviously, he went under Anthony Joshua's stable at one point. He gets his nickname, The Sauce. He gets television shows built around him. He wins a World Cruiserweight title. But there were some performances in there that people really didn't like.
I'll tell you why it was, Simon.
But Joe Gallagher also makes a difference to him, I think. Do you think that the heavyweights are going to make a difference to Lawrence, that we're going to see what people think Lawrence is capable of rather than what Lawrence didn't do in the past that people were critical of?
Yeah, we will. And the reason we will is because, like David said there, you know, when you've got someone of Lawrence's frame, making cruiserweight was a big problem for him. I spoke to him about this and he said, when you make a certain weight, and I know this is an expert at making weight as well, the punch resistance goes. And if your punch resistance goes, then you lose the confidence in your own ability. And so he had all that going on. And as time was going on as a cruiserweight, that was happening to him, but he was still the champion. So it was about making the weight. And I think that he sort of started losing confidence in his own ability. At heavyweight, I think we'll see, and with Joe Gallagher as well, I think you'll see a reinvented Lawrence Okolie and someone that believes in himself a lot more because of the weight.
Yeah.
I think weight was the big problem for him.
Yeah, weight was a big problem for him, and obviously.
And that showed in his performances, obviously.
Yeah, he mentioned obviously on Fight Week he can eat what he wants as well, but it'll be good to see how we.
I think he was too heavy though. I think he thinks. I spoke to him earlier on. I think he probably thinks he should be around about 240, 245.
Yeah.
260 is him just getting his range in it, building himself up, and then go right. Well, I
Do you
need
think
to
he
be.
can win a world title? Do you think he can put himself in the mix with those guys?
I think he can put himself in the mix with them.
Oh, do you think he could beat them? I'll rephrase
I don't see him beating Daniel Dubois. Depends what the heavyweight division
Anthony
landscape
Joshua?
looks like. Well, we don't know what's left of Anthony Joshua right
Well,
now.
I'm asking you, do you think he could beat him? Like, that's what I'm saying right now.
Well, we don't know what's left of Anthony Joshua. Do I think Anthony Joshua, if I closed my eyes and thought of Anthony Joshua before he got cleaned out by Daniel Dubois, would you ever have the conversation that Anthony Joshua was going to get beaten by Lawrence Okolie?
No, definitely not. That's why I'm asking you.
But the reasons why I would have the conversation now, maybe, is because we've seen Joshua being cleaned out. So we don't know what's left of Anthony.
Definitely.
One assumes that there's something left of him quite significant. But if there isn't, then it's a kind of hypothetical question because you don't know what's left of Anthony. So I don't know in that situation. I'd rather not just make some foolhardy observation.
But do you think that?
No, I don't.
Let's forget Joshua. Do you think in a couple of fights? Let's get real. In a couple of fights, do you think that Lawrence could put himself in a position where he could compete with, let's say, your Martin Bacolis or your Joseph Parkers?
I think it's difficult for him. I think ultimately, I think he would struggle against Caballero. I think he would struggle against Bacolie. I think he would struggle against any of the top 5 or 6 heavyweights in the world.
Yeah, a strong. Obviously, it'll be. I think for Lawrence, he's a very good fighter, and the advantage he had at cruiserweight, he wouldn't have at heavyweight.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
Be interesting to see the next 12
fight.
months or so with Lawrence and how he develops as a heavyweight. That's probably a fair assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What did you make of? We had Denzel Bentley in the studio 2 or 3 weeks ago, who's an infectious character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Obviously, he puts on a great. I thought it was a great performance.
Brilliant performance.
Death by 1,000 jabs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To coin his expression, but a great performance, wasn't it?
Well, listen, I think that it was the way that he showed that he could adapt. The fight looked like it was going to be a tough night. After 4 rounds, he was boxing on the front foot, and that was giving Pauls the opportunity to get off with his own shots, and Pauls was looping that right hand over like he was bowling a cricket ball, and you don't see those shots coming. And, you know, as the fight wears on and the fatigue sets in, you start getting hit by them shots. And I think what Denzel Bentley smartly done was decided to change tactics after that 4th round, box on the back foot, work that jab, and he found a range with the jab, and that was the key weapon that sort of set him up for the victory, because Paul started becoming more desperate as the rounds were getting on, and Bentley started getting into a rhythm, and I think that was the difference and the key.
The jab softened him up.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Were you babbling on before the show about? Were you babbling on in the show? But were you babbling on before the show about the idea that you could see Denzel Bentley fighting Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Why not?
Do you see that fight?
Why not?
You see Eubank.
Well, it's not going to be Hamza Shiraz because Hamza's got his own.
I think that's a good fight, honestly.
I think it's a great fight.
I think it's a good
Eubank Jr.
domestic.
taking it because Eubank Jr.
Okay,
is
I understand.
Listen.
From Eubank's perspective, I suppose he's probably looking at it as, listen, he's calling out Canelo and he's calling out all of these big boys. But I don't think it's going to happen against Canelo and all of these big boys is the other thing. But good domestic dust up for Denzel.
Oh, a great fight.
But for
it's
Chris,
a live
like
one
you said,
for
yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
And how many live ones has Chris taken recently?
Simon, if the money's on the table and we get this 5v5 that we're talking about, and that could possibly be the headliner in March, you never know, Riyadh season, Denzel Bentley has now put himself in a strong position. World number one now. He's world number one now. So there is something for Eubank to take the bait on because he'll want to claim that.
Okay.
And it's a huge fight. It could be a final eliminator for a world title, someone like Yanabek. You don't know what's going on. Hamza Shiraz Yanabek is a fight that could be happening next. And that the winner of that, it could be like a final eliminator. So I think that is a real possibility.
I don't see Chris Eubank Jr. fighting Denzel Bentley.
Let's see.
I think there's not enough money in that fight for him.
Let's
and
see.
He wants to get paid. And why shouldn't he? If ultimately he can, if he can sell it, he can sell it. Anyway.
I think that fight with Conor Benn would happen first before.
You think so?
I think Eubank will probably fight Ben.
I think they're trying to get Conor down the Barrios route, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's a real opportunity for him to win a world title. Nigel, his father, wants him to fight Chris because he knows he gets paid.
Yeah.
Barrios is a winnable fight.
Barrios is a
very
winnable
winnable fight.
Yeah.
Conor's too aggressive for him.
So, boys, Ben Whittaker has finally come up for air and broken his silence, saying he wants the rematch with Liam Cameron, which I think is absolutely right. Yeah. Where are you on the Ben Whittaker argument? A, do you like him as a fighter? B, do you like all the showboating? And C, do you think he swallowed it?
It's a bit of a brutal ending, that one.
I like Ben Whittaker. You know, you got to give him his kudos, man.
Yeah.
He's entertaining.
So do I.
People, whether they like him or not, people tune in to watch him. And if there's a fight, it's like, all right, let's see what Ben's going to do. And B, he is definitely skillful.
No doubt.
Skillful. I mean, he got a silver in the Olympics. Yeah. He's been there, he's done that. And see, if he swallowed it, I don't know if he swallowed it. If I'm being honest, I don't actually know. Liam Cameron was bringing him heat, though.
Yeah.
I think there was a way out, and he took it,
so,
basically.
Yeah, Liam Cameron was bringing him heat, but maybe he did hurt himself, and maybe he just thought, look, it's going to be a tougher night. So he just, I don't know.
Where are you on the all the showboating? I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Various people I've sat with at fights have gone, I don't like that. He won't be doing that when he goes up a level, and this, that, and the other. And I think it's piss-taking, and I think it's a liberty with the other fighters. Yeah, I've always heard the other fighters never really say much about it.
Yeah.
What's your view on it?
If he's got the skill set to do it, why not
get away
do
with
it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, look, Prince Asim did it, and I think, honestly, like sometimes now, like the fans have changed so much. If you look at what Prince Asim was doing 20 years ago, it was no more different to what Ben's doing. I think if Prince Asim was to come around now, people would hate his guts.
Yeah.
People would be like, no, what you
I think it's charisma. I think the sport needs style. I mean, I have to say, as much as I like Prince Naseem, I hated what he did with Steve Robinson. I thought he took the piss a little bit too much at that time. But I do think that that a style and sophistication, a bit of swagger is all part of the entertainment of it all.
I think that people, once with Naseem, because I was around in those days, and I think that people hated it at first because they just thought he was cocky and arrogant and all that. But when they actually recognised that he could do it at a world level, then they started to appreciate it, and you have to accept it then and go, listen, sit back and enjoy it because it's something different. We live in a world of entertainment, and why not? And I think Ben sort of chose that route, and I still think he can be a very, very good fighter, and I still think he can go on and win world titles.
Tyson Fury, he's a showboater.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not do it as much as what Ben does it, but I mean, he showboats, he entertains the crowd. I think because Tyson does it at such a high level, everyone likes it and finds it entertaining.
Oh, I do think Ben took the piss though. I mean, he polishes people's heads and takes the piss.
Yeah,
back.
stuff like that is obviously it's more so cool. You're trying to treat him like your son, you know. But I mean, look, it's entertaining. People still talk about it.
Absolutely.
He gets his.
And that's why people are focused on the
there.
fact that ultimately there's probably a bit more spite in people's observation that he might have got out of this fight because they think, aha, you had it coming.
Yeah.
He said that he's going to have a lot to say about it afterwards. Yeah. What do you think to that, Spence? Do you think he should be attending to the observations that people are making about him now, or do you think he's best served doing what he is attempting to do, which is go in there, deal with the Liam Cameron question if he can, because that's what he's got to do, make it a compelling victory, and then he'll go back to telling people what he thinks of the world. Do you think that's the better way to go?
Absolutely. Just go and right the wrongs of that contest. Go and prove people wrong because he's put that. The jury is now out there, and I think that's never going to go away until he goes and does that and goes over old ground with Liam Cameron. So that is the fight that he needs to go into next, and then he can go in there, and then he can say his stuff after that. Because whatever he says now, because he's left it so long, no one's really going to give a shit. No one's going to. They're all going to have their own opinion.
In of itself, it's the same.
They're going to have their own opinion. You've got to go in there now and right the wrongs of that contest, and then you can say your bit after.
I suppose by him taking the fights, in of itself, it's as much as needing to say something.
Absolutely.
Do you think he should? I mean, without wanting to be overly analytical, do you think he should have said something?
Maybe so. Maybe he should have said something just to keep people in the loop.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain yourself. I mean, listen, he doesn't have to explain himself to nobody. Him and his team know. No. But maybe just because you can keep people in the loop, just to say, look, this is how it looked. And
it might do him a favour, don't you think? In the longer run, I think people think now because there was a ridiculous amount of hype going around Ben, in terms of there was fashion companies all over the place wanting him to be at this fashion shoot, that fashion shoot. There's X amount of people following him on social media. It may well be that this is a wake-up call. I mean, Ben. I remember talking to Ben when he won the silver, or as he would prefer to say, lost the gold.
Yeah.
And his attitude was, I didn't come here for silver.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought that was arrogant. I thought it was brilliant. I thought that's what you've come to win a gold. You're disappointed by anything else. And people thought that was an arrogant attitude. I think that with Ben Whittaker, I think that his challenges now are to overcome these demons. And out of this could come more character. He knows that he went into that fight for whatever reason. He didn't look himself, whether it's because Liam Cameron made him not look himself, or because Ben, for whatever reason, had something get into his head, or he was distracted by other things outside of the ring. I think now that will probably hone him, don't you think?
This will make him focus on boxing now.
Yeah.
Because this is like boxing.
Bit of reality for him.
Boxing is now the forefront of what he's got to do now, because now there is a lot of doubters, you know, where we looked at him before and we were big cheerleaders of that as well. So I'm saying this kid is the next big thing and whatnot. And it's easy to drop the ball and take your eye off the game. Dave, you know, you've been there at that stage,
100%.
you know, and you go, it sort of reinvents you as a person because you have to, and he's probably gone soul searching.
Yeah. To credit to Ben though, I've been in camp with Ben. He is a hard worker.
Yeah.
And the man works.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so what he does do is not like it's a fluke or whatnot. He does work for what he's got.
But this has to be switched on. That's the thing.
Of course, he has to stay switched on, but I think he does. I think he does stay switched on. But I feel like Ben's got it hard anyways, because now if Ben rematches as Liam and he doesn't showboat, people are gonna say, "Oh, you couldn't." Couldn't.
Yeah.
If he does rematch Liam and then he starts to showboat, people are gonna say, "You don't learn. You're not humble." So Ben's got a hard position.
He's got to do.
Be himself.
He's got to do what he wants to do.
Exactly
and
that.
do it for him in the way that he wants to do it, and get the result that he needs to get. Yeah. Talking about getting things you need to get. Or not, as the case may be in this instance. Tommy Fury's pulled out of his fight with the MMA fighter, Darren Till. Before we discuss it, let's hear what Darren Till had to say about it on talkSPORT.
The last bit of your statement, what you've just said, which is from Tommy's statement, where they're looking for a new opponent, that's not true, because Tommy's pulled out of the fight. That doesn't mean that Tommy then stays on the show, because then what do I do? I'm still headlining January 18th. I haven't gone anywhere, so Tommy's pulled out. But for years, the Furies have always intimidated and bullied everyone at press conferences, at fights, at fight week, at weigh-ins, whatever, That's what they've done. That's their thing. It's all mental warfare, innit, John's intimidated Jake Paul's father. John buttered someone from from Usyk's team. John punched glass to try and punch KSI when KSI was making weight, whatever. All this, Sound, that's what you do. You're building a fight. We all know how this goes, right? And, by the way, Tommy, if I'm losing the fight, I'll just kick you straight in your face. He's then turned around and said, well, then it'll be a proper fight. And I've went, well, then I'll win because I'm a real fighter. Let's just not get things twisted out here. So all this, what I've said, which, by the way, is all just said as, what? We're building a fight. It's mental warfare, mate. It's out here. It's on. Yeah. I signed a disclaimer for the Misfits in the contract that if I would kick Tommy, I would forfeit my whole purse, yeah, and I'm getting paid handsomely. So what I'm looking at here and what I'm seeing is Tommy's pulled out because of what I've said. It's completely and utterly embarrassing. Like, at least pull out with an injury or say your hand or say, Love Island want you back on for a second season. Do you get what I'm saying?
You know what? He is right in a lot of what he said there. Specifically and explicitly the point about the fact that the Furies do bully people in press conferences and they do put it upon them and make it all about them.
He's spot on, mate. Like, trash talk is trash talk, and people
Exactly.
say things in the build-up to sell the fight. And he said, listen, if it ain't going my way, then I'll kick you in the head and win that way. And then Tommy's saying, well, I'm not doing that then. I go, come on, mate.
Yeah.
But this is the build-up. I mean...
No, I understand that, but maybe because he is an MMA fighter at the end of the day. You two have signed a boxing fight contract.
Yeah, but Dave,
But what did he
people
say?
talk to build up fights. Like
100%,
he's saying,
but he's
that's
saying,
tongue-in-cheek.
It is, but also he's probably looking at it from a perspective of like, Tommy's backing himself. Like, I'm going to put it on you in the boxing ring, and if I do put it on you, you're telling me now you're going to turn around and kick me. So,
But he also knows, and I guarantee you he will know, that the reasons why those two boys are in that ring is they're going to get paid handsomely. Right? So he just told us, in no uncertain terms, that if he kicked Tommy Fury in the head MMA style, he loses his purse. So Tommy Fury will know that and know that the very purpose of this fella going in the ring has just been completely and utterly removed. So it's not likely to happen. So it's not a great look, is it?
I suppose from his perspective, he's more so just safeguarding himself.
Yeah, but he could have easily said...
Safeguarding Tommy.
He could have easily said something like, if he kicked me in the head,
You don't
forfeit
think
all
that,
of his
David.
purse.
You don't think that. You don't think that.
No, I genuinely do. I feel like maybe just the people are safeguarding him because it's one of them ones where they think, we think.
Look, first and foremost, by picking a fight against an MMA fighter, right? He knows that the guy's going to speak in a certain way. So if you didn't want to have the jeopardy of an MMA fighter doing something a bit quirky, don't pick a fight with a MMA fighter for a start.
I agree.
Second of all, the fact that Darren Till has come out in that press conference and stuck it right on them in no uncertain terms and gone proper mad dog on them, isn't he? In terms of terrorising John Fury, terrorising Tommy Fury. They've not had it their own way. I mean, I listen.
It was good to watch.
It was interesting to watch.
It definitely was.
Where are you on these crossover fights?
It was good to watch, and I do understand Darren Till's mental warfare there. I do understand it where he's saying, I'm going to do this to you. That way, it kind of starts to make a fighter hesitant in the ring. But where am I in terms of these crossover matches? I think, I don't really have an opinion on it because...
Did you watch Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?
I did watch that fight.
You didn't?
I did.
You did?
I did, yeah.
Why?
It was entertaining. It was one of them things where, why wouldn't you watch it?
There you go.
I mean, have you seen it, Sam?
I don't know what you... No, I didn't actually.
Have you seen the replay? Have you seen the replay?
No, not at all.
So you haven't seen one punch thrown in that punch?
Not at all.
That fight.
And I don't know what you're laughing for because you were out there
I'm
as a
mate.
media going, this is a legitimate fight. Mike Tyson could win it.
Fight. I got caught in the trap going, I'll get a chance to see Mike Tyson do the ring walk again. I enjoyed it. Entertainment, mate. Like, that is the world that we live in right now. If you don't like it, don't watch it. I still reckon he watched it, by the way.
He did watch it.
He did watch it.
You're telling me
his
you
face.
just saw one punch in that
I
fight?
promise you, on my children's life, I didn't watch it. I thought it was a ghastly event. I thought it was a 58-year-old man going in against a 27-year-old moderately fit athlete.
Would you agree that it was a good business move?
Financially?
Yeah.
Brilliant. But these clowns were running around billing it as a legitimate fight.
Look at his face. He definitely watched it.
No, I promise you. If I watched it, Spence, I'd have told you I'd get a lot of things wrong. I categorically didn't watch it. Would you fight a YouTuber if you were being offered a big barrel of money?
I'll be real with you. There's no real need for me. It doesn't really. If I get a one-off, hey, do you want to take this?
$5 million on the tape
to go and beat a YouTuber. That's a legal homicide. I would do it, and I'll let my hands go back home, and I'll get back to what I do. But I don't want to get caught up in that. So I wouldn't want it to be a thing where I do it once and then
you're sucked into that world.
Sooner or later, you start to kind of drift into that sort of avenue because it's not my avenue. It's not what I joined boxing for.
Do you like what they're doing? Do you go along the argument that they're good for this kind of revolution that's going on with
question.
Jake Paul and interest is, and everyone else that's around it, whether it's KSI and all. Do you think that's good for boxing? Do you like the reality of it?
It brings eyes to the sport,
Yeah.
but it can make the sport look a little less professional.
Credible.
Yeah, and less credible because it starts to look like, well, everyone's a fighter now. And
I think
they don't know how hard it really is when you get in there with actual fighters. I feel like it's not so bad because obviously in the Misfits and whatnot they're doing, they're kind of fighting at the same sort of level. But when you start to get in there and you start to really climb up the ranks, it's gonna be dangerous, man. And one punch can change it all.
Talking about credible, what did you make of? I mean, I'm a big fan of Billy Joe Saunders. You know, I like Bill a lot, but he's weighed in with the idea that he'll have a fight with Darren Till. Well, first of all. Is that likely to happen? And B, does Bill need to be making that sort of indexing?
He's away on holiday, actually. I was trying to get him to come on and explain that.
Was he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, you go, look, he smelt the pound note. That's all it is. Yeah. That's all it is. Like, you know, I thought that Billy was coming back. Yeah, he's got a few quid anyway. But listen, but I think that he just sees an opportunity.
Well, he told me he was coming back at light at 175. He told me last November, a year ago, that he was coming back at light heavy at 175.
Yeah. I think weight has been a big battle for him and a big struggle for him, and maybe motivation. And maybe he senses something like Darren Till and thinks, I'll take that. Yeah. Why not? I mean, we talked about levels to the game here. He put Billy Joe Saunders in with Darren Till. He's from a different discipline. Don't mess around with Billy Joe in a boxing ring. If that kid gets himself in shape, it's not like he's an old man. We're not talking about Mike Tyson.
He's someone that lost that top level.
You know? Yeah.
So got him going against Darren Till, like you said, obviously he smart the money. So he's obviously, for him it's, I'm going to get paid to be
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there is a home for that now.
But we all know it, right? It's from Tommy Fury, though, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Not fighting Darren Till.
Oh, it's terrible, mate. Come on.
I've got to get one controversial. It is
I'm with you.
Shithousery in what sense then?
He's fighting an MMA fighter. Yeah. He knows the game. He knows what's being said to him. He knows what the potential challenges are. He knows that the fighter isn't going to kick him in the face because he's got a contract that's going to pull all his money away. That is my version of housery.
He's starting to sound like he cares now, isn't he?
Would you have tuned in to Darren Till, Tommy Fury fight?
I might have done, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
I might have done. Because purely and simply for the very reasons that you said.
That is being a hypocrite, by the way, when you're talking about Mike Tyson, an icon, a boxing legend.
Have I started something?
Darren Till is a professional athlete, still in a reasonable level in his career.
Mike Tyson
was a candidate for osteoporosis.
Yeah, but it's an iconic figure, mate. You get to see him ring walk again. We knew what it was.
Yes.
Like, you just do that and you go, he's in with a YouTuber.
Who was going to win out of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson?
I thought Mike Tyson was going to win,
This is what I mean.
I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Well, right, that's it. I've had enough. Yeah. Enough of this, right? Right, that's it for episode 99 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. David, thank you very much. Have a good Christmas. And we'll see you next time out, which is going to be what? Oh, the 100th edition. See you then.